Hey guys, it's Jason from Close Range Tactics, and recently I posted a couple of photographs of this thing, the Daisy Donut or the Daisy Ring. This is about 90 feet of paracord. It's a gray paracord, and this is a quick release method, just like a normal daisy chain, but as you can see, it's much more compact. And I can even snap this onto a carabiner or a snap link and attach this to my pack. I think that the daisy ring is a much better option as compared to a standard daisy chain. This is approximately 60 feet of paracord in a fairly compact daisy chain. And you can see it's still a cluster. It is a lot better than just having the same amount of cord unorganized in your pack. But one of the things is when you're attempting to access this in a hurry or in the dark, sometimes when you reach into your pack and you pull out the mess, it's not always clear which end is the end that you pull from. And if you pull incorrectly to start with, you kind of ruin the chain. For instance, if I don't back out this tail and I just start to pull, I make things tighter and it starts to work itself up into a knot. And if time is of the essence, it's not going to be easy to figure out quickly. But the idea to the daisy chain is that it is quick release and you just pull off what you need and your rest is still organized. This is 60 feet, this is 90 feet. The daisy chain itself works better on larger diameter cordage or a slightly shorter length of rope. So I would not daisy chain 60 feet of paracord. I might only do this to about 10 feet of paracord. And I'm actually going to use the thicker cordage to show you how to make the daisy donut because it's a little hard to see the hand movements on the phone here. So I wouldn't make a daisy donut out of something this big. I would only, do what I'm about to do as an instructional here. All right, so let's start on how to make this daisy ring. The first thing that we do is we make a few loops, and those loops are gonna set the diameter of this inner ring right here. When I make this with paracord, my loops are about the diameter of my 4 fingers here. You have to set the loops to be big enough so that there's room to build, because as you build the coils of the daisy ring, the thickness of the wrap increases on both the internal and external dimensions. So if you start with really small rings, you will run out of space here on the inside before you've finished adding all the cord that you wanted. And also, if you plan to use a carabiner to hold your daisy ring, you need to set the diameter so that the snap link actually will fit around this. So you can build this to be too thick and it won't fit. So something to keep in mind. So because this is a larger diameter cord, this is 7mm, I'm gonna make the wraps a little bit bigger than I normally would. 3 to 4 times around is fine. Working from the top here, so here's where the tail is, and the tail on the coils is pointing to my right, your left. And the working end of the rope is closest to me as I hold it. I take that working end, and the first thing I do, you notice that the working end is hanging off over to my left over here, is I roll a twist towards me so that the working end is closest to me when I make that loop. And here's the tail right here. So the first thing I do is start close to the tail, and I work from my left to my right. And that's gonna cover up the end of this tail right here. So we're always pulling the working end through the center of these coils in one direction or the other. Holding that first twist that I made and keeping the loop open here, I pull the working end through and I make a bite. And a bite is when I fold it back on itself, but I don't allow this one to twist. So the only bite that twists is the very first one right here. Everything else, we make sure it runs parallel to each other. I take the second bite and I bring it up through that first bite. So I'll work the rope so that it will hold this second bite in place and allow me to keep working without it coming undone. So here's what I see on this side of the rope. And on the back side you can see no twisting, so it's starting to come out parallel. So like I said, I'm always going to be bringing the working end through the center one way or the other. It's always opposite of what I just did. So last time I pushed it away from me through the center, and now I'm going to pull it back towards me. Taking care that the working end here, when I make my bite, so this is bite number 3, and it goes through bite number 2. Watch how I hold that with my finger again. And now I'm going to dress down bite number 2 by pulling the slack out and then dressing it up through and then pulling a little bit of slack out. Admittedly, your first few are not going to look quite as pretty as this. It takes a building process, and usually the very first pass around the coils looks kind of like crap compared to what it does look like after the second and third pass. Again, as you build this, you're standing in, you're working in the end of the bite that's coming through here. We're always going to keep that to our right in our direction of work. If you don't do that, you'll develop a twist, and the twist is what's going to not allow the coils to lay nice and uniform against each other. The rope will sometimes want to twist like this one is, and you just have to insist on making them lay parallel with each other. Make a bite. I pass it through the previous bite. Adjust to lock it down, and then take the slack out. Making sure that my lines run parallel. As I build this, we'll kind of go into a fast forward here, and you can see what it's going to look like. I have about 25 feet of this rope right now, and we'll just build this out as far as it'll go and see what it looks like. So I didn't have enough rope to get a full 360-degree first pass. Once you complete your first full pass, you just stack over the top of the next pass, or of the first ring. So you just start building a second layer doing the same thing. And that is where you start to build the thickness up. So as you can see here on this cord, here is probably the second wrap around the ring, and then right here you can see the end of the third. So as I was building it, I guess I was holding it like this, and it went around, and it starts to stack over the top of the original one, and you just keep building it in layers like that. You can see here I have a single strand coming out. So when you get finished with building your ring and you don't have enough tail left over to make another bite and lock it down, you're just going to take the single strand and pass it through the previous bite, and then dress that down and tighten that up, and that's going to lock it in place so it doesn't come undone. Now it's pretty easy, even in the dark when you reach into your pack, to know which end is the end to pull from, because there's only one end. All you do is you find that very last strand, the one that's going through the bite, and you back it out. You can't do this wrong. Once it breaks free of that bite, like here, once I pull that out, usually the little burnt end, melted end gets stuck right there. Now I can just start pulling. I pull off what I need. I cut, burn it, take that tail, pass it back through the previous bite, dress it down, lock it down, good to go. Keep doing that until this is all gone. Hope that explains how these donuts are made. You could put a couple 100 feet on one of these quite easily. And it works better with small diameter cordage like paracord. If you have any other questions, please leave them down in the comments. I also do a lot of rope work and knots and things like that. If there's any interest in seeing more tutorials on cord work and knot tying, please let me know, and I'll hopefully get a little bit better at making these things.